Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Shameless Plugs.
Hello.
As always, I am J.A. George and joined by my co-host,
Samantha the Writer.
We are very excited about today's episode because on today's episode, we have our first ever guest.
There are wild arm gestures going on over here. I'm so excited.
Yes, we're very excited. This is something that we've wanted to do with the show for a while, and we had conversations about who we wanted to be the first guest and what we kind of wanted to do in terms of guests, and we are very happy that we got the guests we did. I will put in a plug here because I, in particular, am excited because our guest for this episode is Michele Keller, and I am excited about this. Michele Keller is a fellow writer, and she runs a site that I think is pretty fantastic. It is a blog called the Manuscript Shredder.com, and it focuses on writing advice. So with that, first off, Michele, thank you for joining us. We're very happy to have you on. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty excited to be here, too. I love being on podcasts, particularly ones that are not video, because I don't put on any makeup. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, I know. I don't have to put on makeup either, so. So, Michele.
So a little bit about the blog.
Yeah.
Yes, you are correct. It is called the Manuscript Shredder. And the reason I started this, I've been writing casually for most of my life. I won't let you know how long that is, but it's long enough.
Yes.
But,
I know the feeling.
A few years back, I'd written something that I was pretty pleased with, and, everyone was telling me, put it out there, and, what I was getting, I was not getting a reply. So I couldn't figure out, what was wrong with it. So I started going back over and looking at it, and, I was not getting any good feedback. So I started this blog because I have a superpower, and I believe that a lot of people do have superpowers. Like my husband, for example, he can remember the words to any song ever written ever. It's really bizarre.
Wow.
But, my superpower is the ability to take someone else's precious piece of art and just rip it to shreds.
Nice.
That is my superpower. I've noticed it when I was in the visual art, and then it really came in its own when I was a musician. And now it's sort of transferred over to writing. So I am able to look at someone's writing and say, this is how what you are doing is totally different from what is accepted as quote-unquote correct. So the more feedback I was getting from people, the more feedback I was giving to people, they were coming back to me and they were telling me, I've completely redone my work, and now I got picked for Pitch Wars, or now I have an agent, or now I have, I had people who were selected for Amazon Select. I don't know if you're familiar with that program at all, but I realized that I do have a pretty good ability to get into someone's story and figure out what is wrong with it. So what the blog does is I take people's opening pages and basically about the first 10 pages or so, and I go through and I critique these pretty hard. And then I write the blog post about what mistakes they are making. So that's the bread and butter of the site itself. And then, over the years, I've actually branched out into a couple other things, but that's primarily what I do.
Right.
And that is the Manuscript Shredder.
I know you and I have had some conversations about our work and our writing and everything on Twitter, and honestly, now I kind of want you to read my first 10 pages, but I'm kind of terrified to have you read my first 10 pages. So.
You should be terrified. But, what I found most frustrating when I was first getting feedback from people was all I was getting were little pats on the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
People were telling me, oh, this is really wonderful. I was never getting what I needed.
Yeah.
Obviously, what I had written wasn't that great because I wasn't getting any requests. If I had written something that was really, oh, this should be a movie and this is amazing and blah, 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 why was I not getting a single request?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So the way I critique is really what I would want people to give back to me.
Right.
I want to know what is wrong so that I can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah,
that's the only way you will improve as a writer.
100% agree with that.
Completely agree, and that's
absolutely
something I've seen with working with some critique partners. There are very few who actually give useful feedback,
Mm-hmm.
so I completely agree with what you're saying. Completely agree.
Well, I think it's an awkward space to get into because you want to keep your critique partner because it's important to have one, but you also need to get that feedback. Like, you don't want...
Right.
So I think that's why.
Do you want to keep a critique partner who is not giving you good feedback?
No, I think that's right, but I think that's why there are people who are so hesitant about giving that hardcore feedback is because they're like, I don't want to offend you and I need you. So I think that is where that balance comes in.
And I have a question about that. What kind of... Have you gotten much pushback? Like, when you've given harsh feedback to people, have you gotten a lot of pushback? Because I know that in my experience, I've worked with some people, like there have been writing contests on Twitter, and then there were people who, as a result of those writing contests, people would share their query letter, or they would share their first few pages. So there were these little critique groups forming. One of the things that I ran into is when I did give honest feedback, people pushed back hard and told me how wrong I was and, you know, how I didn't know what I was talking about. So do you get a lot of pushback along those lines?
It does happen every once in a while. I find that because the way my background's a teacher, so the way I give my feedback is I say, this is what I've noticed. This is why it differs from what I think it should be, and I think, and then I offer a solution or an alternative. So I think when I give feedback that offers possibilities, I feel like it gives more back to that person, and I don't get as much anger and as much, just defensiveness.
Right.
Whereas if you went like, this is terrible, right? The person is obviously going to get defensive. But if you say, this isn't working, but if you did the way you did it earlier, you showed me what he was thinking, and down here you told me, what just happened. So if you give back solutions, I think it's more helpful to people. So I do always try to give back solutions and to explain why I made the criticism that I did. It's just not this stuff. Yeah. But this is why this doesn't work, or this is what you've done. This is why it's considered correct, or this is a common rule you violated, or that So I try to explain it in a way that educates, as opposed to just being negative.
Right.
And of course, when at the very end, I always say half of what I say is fact and half of what I say is objective, and you figure out which one is which.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunately the thing about writing is everything that I say, 50% of it is just opinion, and it's up to you to figure out which 50 that is.
I love that phrase that you used, feedback with possibilities, because I think that's so much more important than just going through and marking, here's a grammatical error, here's a grammatical error. It's continuing a conversation about the work, which is so much more enlightening, I think, for a lot of artists and writers. If you have a conversation, you really can get into those layers and figure out what direction you need to go. So I think that phrasing was just spot on.
Right.
Yes.
And when I do my feedback, I don't actually do much with the mechanics and grammar and those kinds of things, because the level of feedback that I give, people will be doing quite a bit of rewriting, so that stuff might not even be there.
Right.
Right.
So most of my feedback is going to be broad level changes. I might do some light edits, and I'll mention something if someone's consistently making an error. But as far as comment here, no.
Right.
And I don't think that there are other editors who are much better at that than I am. So go to them.
Yes.
So one of the things that I like that you do on your site is you'll talk about different reference books. Like I know you've talked about Angela Ackerman's books and so on there. Are there any particular posts that you would like to highlight, or anything from your blog that you would really want people to check out?
Well, it really depends on what people are looking for. Right now, I think I'm working most heavily on revamping my NaNoWriMo daily blog guide.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
But this past November, I blogged every day on what you should be writing about if you are following contemporary plot structure. And most people are familiar with that Save the Cat kind of plot structure that's really popular right now. And I use that as a basis for, I know, you either love it or you hate it, but it's simple in a way. Right? Some people want to hang the cat.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
but, you know, whether you love it, whether you don't love it, it's not going away. It's out there, and it's completely ingrained in not just novel writing culture, but especially screenplays and things like that. So it's something that people can find examples of and be familiar with. So what I did was I went through each of the 30 days, and I talked about what you would be doing at each point if you were following the finished 106 words per day. I think that you're supposed to do. So if you were doing and going to end up at 50,000, if you wanted to end your novel on the 30th, this is what you need to be writing along that day. And when you write your novels, obviously it doesn't need to be that structured, but the idea was this is a beginner's guide, and it would keep the first-time novelist on track throughout the entire month of November. So I'm actually right now revamping this, and I'm going to publish it. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it as just a freebie if you sign up for my blog updates, or if I was actually going to publish it on Amazon. But that's my big project that I'm working on right now. So, and I had a lot of people who really helped them. So that's one of my particular favorites. And then actually this past week's blog post about just editing in the right order. That's a huge one. People get stuck. So they'll go through and they'll rewrite their first page 100 times, and they completely ignore the rest of their novel, or things like that. And maybe, and then they find out 3 months from now, they're going to cut that page anyway. So, we've all done it. We've all done it.
Yes.
Way
too many times.
Going through and making sure that your big structural edits first, and then you worry about breaking each scene down, and then you worry about line edits, and then you worry about all that copy editing and those kinds of things. So just getting all of those in the right order.
Right.
And of course, everyone's process is going to be a little bit different, but the post is just a beginner's guide, just a suggestion, and then you take that, and from that, you figure out what your exact process needs to be.
Right.
So that's really what I do. I take what has worked for me, I put it out there for people who are just getting started, and just to help guide them, and hopefully they will take that information and turn it into something that works for them.
Right.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm a big fan of the site. That's the reason why I wanted you to be our first guest. So I think I've actually bookmarked that post to read it.
Yes.
So
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I really do. When you're just throwing things out on the internet, every once in a while you get you don't get the feedback. People don't leave comments. They don't. So you wonder, is anyone really reading it? My statistics said someone read it, but I don't know what their takeaway was.
Right.
So I'm always interested in getting feedback. I want to know that what I'm doing is actually helpful to people, because there are a lot of blogs out there I've found that are giving out maybe not completely incorrect information, but incomplete.
Yes.
So I feel like there's a lot of advice out there that really become a hindrance even to creativity or to just storytelling in general.
Yeah.
So I feel it's really important to get that feedback.
And I would say some of it is a hindrance to whether people who are writing a lot of people are writing just because they love writing, but there's a lot of people who love writing who are also trying to get published. What I've seen from a lot of the other blogs out there is that the advice that they're giving really is not great advice for people who are trying to get published. It's counter to what you hear from agents and editors in a lot of cases. So having a site that is a great resource like yours, from everything that I've read on it, is a boon to people out there who need that input. So I can't give you enough plugs.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, writing just for fun versus writing for a market is totally different animals. And then even someone who's writing genre fiction versus someone who's writing literary.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't critique literary fiction. I enjoy reading it, but I don't have that particular set of skills. I don't have, I don't know what that genre needs.
Right.
So what I do mostly fantasy novels. I do some romance, not as much, but it's mostly fantasy, a lot of YA or adult. Okay. I don't do a lot. And then that's mostly what I'm running into a lot of people who are my writing friends, even on Twitter, on the internet. There's some people who write middle grade. Obviously, a lot of people, but they're not in my circle so much. So, and of course, what we read in my house, my daughter's 6, so we haven't quite gotten to that middle grade level.
Yeah.
So,
my daughter's 7, so I understand.
I feel like there's some people who can relate on this side.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, if you want me to critique your puppy superhero book, I probably can do that now.
Yeah.
Someone out there right now is writing puppy superheroes. That's a great idea.
Yes. That's a brilliant idea.
Yes.
So that is all yours. You can have it.
Well, I kind of have already written a non-puppy superhero,
yeah,
so it's kind of a next logical step for me.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, I think that's exactly where you need to go. After you get through these 6 novels, John.
After I get through the 6 I currently am working on.
If you get done with number 6, you need to go puppy superhero.
I will move on to puppy superhero. Maybe I'll just change the Maybe I'll change the superhero to a puppy.
Puppies!
Just change it right now.
Oh, man. Oh, well, that's going to take a lot of editing.
Yeah,
that's,
well, I've only written one of them. It's cool.
That's true.
It's cool.
If they can do a puppy pirate series, that's where you'll look it up. If they can do that, then why not puppy?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I roll with it.
So you mentioned you write fantasy. I'm kind of curious about that. This is just me being nosy. What kind of fantasy do you write, out of curiosity?
My first love is high fantasy, swords and wizards and stuff. A little bit to the dark side. I've dabbled in historic fantasy, dabbled in paranormal fantasy, but for me, it's always got some kind of fantastic element. I've only written one YA, and it's not my voice. So
Sure. I
enjoyed it, but it's not. I'm a little too jaded, I think. So.
And who do you...
I sit back in the background and make fun of my YA characters, so I don't really think that I have the correct empathy or something. It's the mom and it comes out.
Gotcha. I understand.
Yeah. So, that's what I write in as far as fiction. Professionally, I'm a content writer. I do education, parenting, and health, those kinds of things, like alternative therapies for ADHD and those kinds of things.
Right.
So, and then I also do some freelance editing. I've got a Fiverr ad, which you can find a link to on my website. So if you go to my website and click on Get Shredded, it talks about how you can submit to the blog if you would like to get shredded for free. Now, the only caveat being that you will be on the blog. So if that terrifies you, you can actually just hire me, and I promise I won't tell the world about your flaws.
Okay. So I need to hire you.
Yeah, I
is
was
what
just
I'm
going to say. Good to know. Good to know.
Usually I'm pretty good about leaving any kind of identifying details out of people's works when I put them on.
Oh, I'm not worried about that. I just need to hire you because I don't want it out there, period.
So for J.A. George, you wouldn't put in there following this with puppy novel. That wouldn't show up in there?
Right? So it's a puppy superhero novel.
Yes.
I'm going to say, oh, you know what, this is John. I know who it is. And you can find him at Twitter.
Yes, right.
Yes. Feel free to savage him at J.A. George Writing. So,
yes.
Yeah.
That'll be fantastic.
So
I will scout my inbox.
Yes.
So, you are our first guest, so you also get the first crack at kind of the reoccurring questions that we have on the podcast that we ask of each other all the time. And one of those that we argue about is frequently, yes. Are you a plotter or are you a pantser when it comes to writing?
Well, I am a pantser.
Woo!
I don't like you as much now. Michelle, I'm sorry, I don't like you as much now.
It is quite ironic that I'm right now working on a book on pre-plotting. But,
I thought for sure you were going to be a plotter the way you were talking, what you do. I'm like, yes, I'm going to have, our first guest is going to be on my team. And...
Well, here's what happened to me. So the last novel that I actually completed, I plotted, I was going to do it. I'm going to plot, I'm going to write it, I'm going to follow the rules, I'm doing the thing. And I wrote a very detailed first act plot. And then I went to write the first scene. And in the third paragraph of the very first scene, the main character's gender switched.
Yes.
Which had huge implications for the romance I was planning. So, yeah, I mean, just the rest of the novel had to be 100% scrapped because now it was a story about two lesbians.
Yeah.
So,
nobody can see this, but I'm doing my "you silly pantsers" head shake right now.
Right? I have the ability to make an outline. I do not have the ability to follow an outline.
Yeah, I am with you.
Samantha is very much agreeing with you right now.
Right. Something happens when you are in the moment, in that scene, and you are seeing it as you are writing it, that you don't see it in the outline. And you notice something that was there before, and it takes you in a completely different direction. And that direction is always a surprise, and it's more interesting to me. And the other thing that happens to me, too, is as I write, the characters get control. They tell me where they want to go. They have a goal, and they tell me what they are willing to do to reach that goal. And I can't find that in the outline.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I have the same thing happen to me. I've tried to do the outline thing before, and I get so far into it, I'm like, all right, I can do this. And then I'll get a couple paragraphs in, a couple pages in, and all of a sudden one of my characters will be like, I'm going to go this direction. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And yeah.
Right. Because you hear their voice.
Right. Yeah.
Once you start writing, you hear their voice, and then you realize this is not the person that was on the character sheet.
Agreed. Yep.
Okay. As much as I am not a pantser, I do have to agree with that point. I get in there and my characters do change from the way I originally envisioned them. The difference is I go back and update my outline.
So are you saying that you're a closet pantser?
No, I am not a closet pantser. I am just open to exploring my characters and seeing where they go, but I'm not a pantser.
So he discovers something, he goes back and changes his outline.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
No, I mean, so in all seriousness, all kidding aside, Samantha has had many conversations with me where I do have a detailed plot. I do plan things out ahead of time, but she has been on the receiving end of many conversations where I realized as I was writing a scene, something big later on needs to change, but I do go back to the plotting stage at that point. But those in the moment or in the I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. In the moment moments.
In the moment
Yeah.
moments.
In the moment moments with the characters. I do agree with you on that, even though I still don't understand you silly pantsers.
Absolutely.
So, kind of similarly, the other question we have for you is, where do you get your best ideas? Because for us, they tend to come up in one of two places.
The car or the shower.
Yeah.
It's one of those two.
Yeah, one of those two.
That's a good one. Believe it or not, when I'm in the shower and focused on shower things. And when I'm driving, I'm focusing on driving. You do you.
Those sound like good things to do in those places.
Those are
Yep.
probably more sensible than what we're doing, but...
Well, and the other thing I'm doing in the shower is like leaning out and saying, "Go ask your father." That's the other thing I get to do in the shower.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mom business aside, my ideas. You know what? My ideas come from everywhere and from just thin air. So I like side characters for some reason. If
Okay.
I'm reading a novel and I'm like, what is that guy's deal?
Mm.
So, I love side characters. Believe it or not, I enjoyed cheesy writing prompts.
All right. Nice.
Okay.
The crazy, like, the phone rings and a voice says blah, 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 and then you go from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I get some fun ideas from there. But, of course, as a result, I have lots and lots of orphan chapters that are just belong to nothing because the story just fizzled out and I have nowhere to go from there, which is a byproduct of being a pantser.
Yes.
And the other thing that I like oddities. I like taking something and just kind of turning it on its head and thinking, well, what would that be like? So, like, I wrote a short story about dragons sitting over a game of cards arguing about what kind of armor produced the best roasted knight.
Nice.
So,
Oh, that's brilliant.
It is.
just little oddities, or like second string superheroes. What would they be like?
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of just like little weird oddities. Those are kind of where I get my ideas.
You know, if you're looking for writing prompts, we have some on our site. Just gonna throw that out there.
So you're shamelessly plugging here on Shameless Plugs.
That is
Yes,
correct.
that's-
That's kind of what we do.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I
Have
do
you?
believe that once upon a time I submitted one to you.
Did you?
Oh.
I think that was ages ago, though.
That was because I was running.
Twitter hiatus.
I was running prompts on my site a while back, but I don't remember getting one from you.
Oh.
Because let's be honest, I didn't get that many. So
I remember it was very, very short.
okay.
It was a long, long time ago. So,
Okay.
I mean, it was before you had vanished from Twitter.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
because I had my hiatus. Let's call it.
Yes.
I got very
won't
frustrated with Twitter for a while there, and I took a hiatus. So yes, that would
Yeah.
make sense with the timeline.
So yeah, look for that. It was there.
I'm gonna go back and look. I would not have gotten rid of it. So
So since we have taken a minute to plug Shameless Plugs,
yes,
which again was what we do.
that's what we do.
Is there anything that you would like to plug? You can plug yourself, your website, somewhere you like to go, anything.
You can plug your favorite restaurant.
Yeah,
for all
that's
we care.
that's
We just want to give you the
we
platform.
just want to give you the platform to plug whatever you want right now.
Oh my gosh, restaurants. If I had one, I could eat at. That was not my kitchen. So my shameless plug is going to be for my website. So manuscriptshredder.com. Submit your pages if you are interested in getting shredded for free. It is free if you are willing to be on the website. Go up on the top. Click on Get Shredded. There are detailed directions for what to do. It's the first 10 pages. I will give you detailed feedback and hopefully help you improve your writing craft. And then I will talk a little bit about the things that I had left some of the notes that I'd left in your pages, but I do leave out identifying details, or those kinds of things. So yeah, get shredded. Go to my website and get shredded. If you don't want to be publicly flogged, there is a link to my Fiverr ad. So it's all on there. It's on the website. So go to the manuscriptshredder.com, sign up for the emails, and every week there is a brand new article about writing craft and some things that you can work on for that week. So that is my shameless plug.
All right.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much for joining us. I love the conversation.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank
yes.
you.
Well, thank you for having me. It was so exciting to be here. I love being on the podcast. So.
Yay! All of the information for manuscriptshredder.com will be on our site, so you can look there, shamelessplugs.podcast.com. All of the information, links, and everything will be there. Thanks again.
All right, fantastic. Yep, and hopefully I'll be getting the Movie Gamers Guide out pretty soon. So,
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great.
That's November.
Great.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you to our listeners. We love you, outlets.
Yeah.
See you guys soon.